Hello everyone, welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. In this one, we're taking a look at what's probably the best new deck out of High Seas, Gravy Bones Shipwrecked Looter. Once again, the permanent decks become just the strongest thing you can be playing. Well, probably not the strongest thing in this format, but he is very good. I don't think there's a strongest deck right now, but it is the start of a format, so we don't know what the best deck is. There's a chance it's probably Gravy. So this list is going to be for Gravy, of course, one of the new heroes. Really, really cool. They decided to make a second class, a permanent based class in Necromancer. Love it. Glad we're playing Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Inside of other card games. But Gravy, I do think is pretty cool. He has some really unique interactions with some of the cards he can play, and he's not as egregious as the other permanent decks. He's not putting 6 things into play every turn, and if you don't kill all of them, you're not losing the game. You can ignore some, you can play through some. It's really not that bad. But he is a permanent base deck, which just means he is stronger than most of the other heroes in like every situation possible. But Gravy Bones, pretty cool. Let's get started with the deck review. Gravy Bones Shipwrecked Looter is a 4 intellect, 40 health pirate necromancer hero. Of course, pirate hero, like all 3 of the new heroes, and necromancer, another brand new class. He has 2 abilities: an instant where you can tap him and destroy a gold you control to draw a card and discard a card. Just an extra consistency ability that's pretty nice for him. And the second is if there is a blue card that has been put into your graveyard this turn, you can play cards with Watery Grave from your graveyard this turn, which are your allies alongside your amulets. I'm going to say something real quick. This deck is a little pricey. This deck could be a lot more pricey. I chose not to play Eye of Ophidia and Riches of Topodani in this deck because I do not want anyone to go out and buy a Fabled for a deck they might not like, especially Eye of Ophidia, as that card is way too expensive right now. So, sorry the deck's still more than 1k. You're playing Flesh and Blood. That's the one problem this game has, honestly. But there is an armory deck that comes with like most of these cards, so, or like a good amount of the cards, so it's not that bad. But still, it's pretty bad. His first ability is just extra consistency. You don't want to be discarding a blue to this effect. You want to be playing your blues to put one in the graveyard, but you do want to be discarding your allies because those are the main things you'll be playing off of his ability, or you can discard something like a Sea Legs to make a Gold Kiss from. He does not have a weapon. Instead, he just has an offhand, the Compass of Sunken Depths. This is similar to all the other permanent-based heroes. They don't have any real weapon. Compass lets you tap it to look at the top card of your deck, which is pretty nice for a lot of our drawing and top-of-deck destruction effects. And the first card with Watery Grave we play from our graveyard each turn has Go Again. This just lets us set up more than one ally a turn on a pretty consistent basis. Most of our allies don't have Go Again when they swing, so we either usually have to choose between swinging with 1 or playing 2, but there are ways we work around that. The rest of the equipment I think are pretty standard for a Gravy list. Crowned Dominion will come in versus most matchups as a gold at the start of the game is pretty nice. Dead Threads are just the best chess piece we can be playing because it's pretty much a free resource every turn. Gold Baited Hook is really nice because it's bonus gold with things like Golden Tipple, has you threaten the on-hit, or on turns where we know we can land a hit, it's just a free gold, just gold generation all around. And Mage Master Boots, as they're another way we can play multiple allies in a turn and then still get the swing with 1. Pretty simple equipment lineup. I think you're going to see this in most Gravy lists. Barring like any extra equipment they're playing. I'm playing a little more equipment than a few of the other Gravy Bones lists you'll see out there, but I think it's perfectly reasonable. Moving on to the main board, we only have 2 red cards in the deck, and that is 3 Conqueror of the High Seas and 3 Golden Tipple reds. We are playing Golden Tipple blues. You do see a lot of lists also play Golden Tipple yellows, but I wanted to squeeze a little more of the blues into the deck, as well as have a little more room in the sideboard for other things, so I opted to exclude the yellow ones, but I think yellow ones are perfectly fine. Either play them or play more blues is really good. Conqueror is mainly the red we have to talk about. I know it's expensive right now, but you really can't play any of the Pirate Heroes without it just because of how good the card is. It's like the... what is it called? The multi-mode E-Strike that Mystic had. I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. New just went, so we don't have to worry about the card anymore. I guess that's why. But Conqueror of the High Seas is just like that staple pirate card that every pirate deck needs to play. It'll go down at some point if you were worried about that, but it's just such a good card. It's a 4/7 that can become a 8/4 with Go Again, which is really easy because it's just having 2 blues in your pitch zone and more than half your deck is blues. It also has the on-hit to destroy all cards in the hero's hits arsenal and make gold for each card destroyed, so it's sort of a must-block as well if someone has cards in their arsenal. And then Golden Tipple is just a consistency card. Lets us discard a yellow on attack, which is any of our allies or the sea legs, so literally anything we want to be discarding into our graveyard. If we do, we get a gold, which will help us later, and we draw a card, which will be really nice. And since we've made a gold, we can activate the gold baited hook guaranteed on the turn. Since we've already made a gold, there's no chance we'd lose it. So just some pretty powerful cards here. This is, at least at red and blue, I think is a staple. You have to play both. But the yellow one, again, you don't need it. We're opting not to play it, but it could be a pretty good option to play. Moving on to the yellows, we're going to talk about the allies. We have 15 allies main boarded, but we do have some in the inventory. We'll talk about them a little later. Starting with the main board allies, though, these are all ones you'll pretty much see in every deck, the first 3 here. Chum is a 4-mana 4/6 who can attack, or you can discard another Watery Grave card to make your opponent attack it. There's a lot of matchups where this card's very good. Any Ranger, because they need to do a bunch of things before they attack you. You can see how big the attack is and then redirect it. Also, any aggro deck, if they try to take down one of your other allies, but they don't do it in one hit, you can activate Chum to make them their next attacks always hit Chum, or you can just save your own life by activating it, making them throw a big attack or several attacks at the Chum. So Chum is a very good card. You need to play 3 of it. Anka is one of the cards in the Armory deck. He is a 2-mana 5/3 with 1 resource cost to attack, and you can tap him to discard a Watery Grave card and make the next time our opponent draws this turn, they have to discard a card. So really good versus matchups like Cilio or Azalea, who need to filter through their deck to get high amounts of damage and draw cards pretty much every turn. Also really good versus something like the Gravy Mirror, as when your opponent activates their Gravy ability or a gold, you can activate Anka in response to make them not plus a card. Really, he's just good against pluses. That's all he really does, but other than that, his base stats of just a 2/5 with 3 health is really nice, since a lot of the cheap going in attacks can't guarantee kill it, and the decks that can guarantee kill it with a cheap go again attack are spending like a real attack they'd want to be throwing at their opponent. Limpet is sort of the opposite end of that spectrum, where she's a 0 cost 2/1 with a 1 resource to attack with go again. This one's sort of the opposite of that thought of they're throwing a real attack they want to be throwing. Limpet is really strong because her health is so low. If their deck only has really big attacks, they're wasting it on Limpet. And because it's just 1 resource to attack with go again, you're swinging with her every possible turn you can. So you just get so much damage stacking up over a long game. This is exactly why, Old Prism was so good versus these slower decks, because you could just stack up 20 Spectral Shields and then just blast down someone. You're never going to stack that many up, but you stack a bunch of shields and you just blast someone down. Same as Dromai. Dromai could set up like 4 ashes, and because you didn't want to pop the ashes, it would just one repeatedly 4 to 5 turns in a row, and that's what got your opponent's life total down. So really powerful card in Limpet. You only do get 3 of them because once they leave play, they go face down, but still just a really good aggressive card. The other two allies we are opting to mainboard are Rigor Mortis and Sawbones, two actually pretty similar allies as they are 6 power. Rigor Mortis is just a 1 mana 6/1 with a 1 cost to attack, but it's still a 2 for 6, theoretically. So just a really good stat line. Again, really hard to deal with if you're playing against a deck that doesn't have any cheap go again. So really good versus those Guardians, those Rangers. Really good card there. Sawbones is a 2 for 6, 2 mana 6/2, so 1 extra health for 1 extra cost with the same attack cost of 1. But you can also tap him to make the next time you or a pirate you control would be dealt damage, you prevent 1 of it. So if they try to throw that 3 power go again attack into your Anka, you can tap the Sawbones to protect it. Of course, you're just going to use Sawbones, or they're going to swing into the Sawbones. But there are times where they throw like a 2 and a 4, and you save your chum for an extra attack. And that really helps you. Or you stack these up, and then they either have to deal with them slowly, or you're getting 3 extra health on every attack your opponent throws if they're that 1 attack a turn deck like your Guardian. So really powerful card here as well. Some lists are cutting Sawbones, which I think is fair. Sometimes you don't have the mana to do the Sawbones thing, which you would also rather set up an Anka in those situations as well, because usually the decks you don't have the resource to do everything are decks that you are blocking more, and those decks generally tend to draw more cards. But Sawbones is still really good. I would still play him. The last yellow in the deck is Sea Legs. This is a card that more Gravies have been playing a little over time. Sea Legs on discard makes a Gold Kiss Rum not only good inside of the Brute decks, but really good inside of the Gravy Bones. You do need to tap your hero to use the Gold Kiss Rum, but because you're a pirate, you will untap immediately. And you can't use Gravy's ability the turn you use the rum, which does suck a little bit, but it's worth it. You're giving an attack go again. You can swing with 2 of your 6 powers or whatever other allies, and you're in a very good spot. Since the main idea of the Gravy Bones deck is to swing with multiple allies in a turn, having more effects that can make go-agains are really good. Speaking of go-again, let's move to the blues. 2 of the more important blues in the deck, Avashji and Flying High. I see a lot of lists not playing Flying High blue, and I think that's fair. It does only block 2, and you don't get any extra utility, but since it is a blue that can turn on your Gravy's ability, as well as give your allies X go again, I think it's worth it. And then Avashji is just probably the best blue in the deck. It's a blue block 3 that makes your next pirate ally attack have go again, and an on hit to make a gold. So you can play it, have it go to your graveyard, play an ally, swing at the ally, and then play another ally. It also blocks 3, so if you need to block with it, it's really good. And it can make you some gold on the backswing. So you get gold for next turn if you either need to pitch into gold to find more cards or activate Gravy's ability. Some of the other blues in the deck form a similar function. Tip the Barkeep is the Gold Kiss Rum generator that we actually have to play. It's fine for that because it's a blue going to our graveyard. We'll still make the rum. We also play 1 Diamond Amulet, which amulets are very expensive. This is the only one in the deck because I think it's the only one that's necessary, but they are pretty important to have. Most gravy lists are playing the resource one as well, and I think the increased power one. Some of the other blues in the deck are just some more consistency cards. Give No Quarter makes our next 2 allies with Watery Grave cost 3 less to play, so we can easily play out a bunch of our allies on a cheaper hand. Loot the Hold is another ally pump. This one's better than the other one that comes in the Armory deck, the Loot the Arsenal, because against Gravy, you might find that you just don't want to arsenal any cards because things like Loot the Arsenal and Conquer the High Seas could just destroy you, so you just want to play consistent 4-card hands, and Loot the Hold can help punish that. Murderous Rabble, since most of the deck is blue or yellow, this will come in for at least 2 most of the time, a lot of the times 3. Portside Exchange, Chart the High Seas can help you put allies in your graveyard as well as make it extra gold. Call to the Grave lets us just bin some allies. It's pretty much a tutor. A tutor for any card we want in our deck. Really, really good. Can also mill the Back Alley Break line as another way to get bonus action points. And then the last two blues in the deck are Saltwater Swell, as it's just a way to get some extra resources. It's a blue block 3 anyway. Really good with the compass, as that lets us see our top card. And 2 Sunken Treasure as a way to interact with our opponents in the mirror. Any deck that cares about the graveyard, realistically, or even in our own deck, banish or turn face down our Sea Legs that we've already discarded to just get some gold. But we're only on 2 of it since it doesn't do anything outside of that. And we can't play it during our turn to let us play allies. So it's just pitch or block, which is all right. But with that, that is the main board. Let's move on to the inventory. For the inventory, we have 5 pieces of equipment, starting with 3 Arcane Barrier. Null Rune Robe, Gloves, and Boots are going to be our options. This is mainly because we can't play Lantern since our only weapon is an offhand, and we can't really play the head because versus the matchups we're playing all that AB, we prefer to have the Crown of Dominion so we can have a bit of extra gold for a better start. The other 2 pieces of equipment are Crown of Providence. This will come in versus matchups where we need to be a little more defensive, since Crown of Dominion only lets us start with a gold. It doesn't do anything else outside of that. Crown of Providence helps us with a little extra health and still a cycling effect. And then Quick Dodge Flexors are going to be brought in versus decks that go extremely wide, as any blue can just become a 6-block card. Really powerful. Those are the same matchups you probably will never use the Mage Master Boots. So just replacing them with the Quick Dodge Flexors is a pretty good option. The rest of the sideboard is just some tech for certain matchups. Blood in the Water is a 0 for 6 D-React as long as you have an ally to discard or on top of your deck. We can see with the Compass, which is a very nice synergy, sort of what Necromancer wants to be doing anyway. And we can also discard an ally from our hand since none of them block. I do personally like Sink Below a little more than Blood in the Water, but after playing more Gravy and playing against Gravy, I definitely feel the effects of the 6 block a little more, which is why that's in the list over Sink Below, but you could play Sink Below over this if you wanted to. Then we have the remaining 3 copies of Saltwater Swell, the 3 reds. I mean, we're not on the yellows. I guess those would be the 3 remaining ones, but 3 red Saltwater Swell. This is here mainly for our Gravy Bones mirror. The Gravy Bones mirror, it just like every other permanent mirror match is really skill intensive and really hard. So having Saltwater Swell in your deck, not just as a way to get bonus resources and play bigger turns, but as a way to help clear the board, because that's the main thing you're going to be doing in those matchups. Saltwater Swell is so important. Or just any other go-again attack. But we're already playing the good go-again attacks. We're playing the Rabble, we're playing the Tipple. This could be Yellow Tipple if you wanted, but Yellow Tipple wouldn't be a card I'd want to sideboard, it'd be a card I want to mainboard. So I opted for the Saltwater Swells instead. The final 4 cards, or 2 cards, in the inventory are 2 copies of Swabby and 2 copies of Whaler Humperdinck. These 2 are the other 2 allies you see in most lists. I've seen a lot of lists recently only play 2 of each of these. I think there's a world where you go up to a 3rd Whaler, maybe cutting the Quick Dodge Reflexors or the Crown of Providence if you don't think you need them, or both for the other 2. I don't think Swabby is as important of an ally, but there are matchups where he is very good against. Any matchup that can't really block efficiently, Swabby can just come in for a massive amount of damage. Any of those like ninja decks or something like a Cilio that can easily just play a bunch of things in a turn, Swabby won't be the best against because he's easily cleared and he does cost a lot. But in a slower matchup where you need more allies, or in a matchup that can only deal with one ally a turn, Swabby is insanely powerful, as it's a big number that can come in every turn. And then Whaler Humperdinck is going to be your late game godsend, even though he can easily be cleared by one attack. If you set up Whaler in a position to where they have to clear the Whaler or they just lose because you're going to lock them out of the game, he's so good. You can set him up easily with something like Give No Quarter. You can protect him with something like Chum or Sawbones. If you can get Whaler up and then keep swinging Whaler every turn in those late game matchups, especially in those like late game situations where they're low on life, they have to defend, just 6 for 11 every turn is insanely powerful. Like I said, I do think some people will play 3 Whalers. I think it's perfectly reasonable. In the mirror, Whaler has sort of a similar effect, and only playing 2 can put you at a bit of a disadvantage. But I wanted the room for the extra equipment in the deck for your matchups that aren't mirrors. But I think a lot of people are going to be playing this deck because it's the only permanent deck. Oh, that's not true because Prism exists, but New Prism isn't so much a permanent base deck than it is an aggro deck. This is fully that illusionist bread and butter permanent based deck. But with all of that, that is going to be the end of the video. Gravy Bones is definitely the most exciting of the new heroes from High Seas as the brand new permanent base deck. Moving into a format without New's existence, there's probably going to be a lot of Guardians coming back, and Gravy Bones is going to push them right back into their box of not wanting to play the game anymore. Because permanent decks, similar to New, are just really good versus those slower decks. Gravy, again, no exception of being a slower deck, but has the damage to really take down a game. Can play very low card hands. 2 card hands are very good for Gravy. You can just play a blue card and then pitch the other one to play an ally. So you can defend and swing really easily. Honestly, the best deck out of the 3 by far. Next week, we'll be taking a look at Puffin, who is a hero that I'd say is being played the least of the 3. I think as a Ranger, there's a lot more Ranger players than there are mech players. And obviously, this Gravy's a new permanent hero. He's already showing a lot of success. I think Puffin is definitely just the least played of them. So next week, we'll take a look at Puffin. After that, we'll probably take a look at some of the decks that got some new expansion cards. Definitely going to be looking at Acilio. I've been playing a ton of Acilio. Glad to be back on him. And with all of that, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.